What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Dad Does Videos. So I'm standing in one of the closets in our house, and I'm going to show you how to remove this old, crusty, builder grade light fixture that we have in this closet and replace it with a new LED fixture that you will most likely never have to replace, or if you do, it'll be years and years and years from now. Okay, so here is the new light fixture that we are going to install to replace that old crustiness that I showed you before. It is from the Home Depot. I picked it up for about 40 bucks. As you can see, it's an LED and it's nice and sleek and really thin, so it fits really close to your ceiling. It is color changing right here, and when we say color changing, it's not, purple or green or red. It is the changing of the color on the Kelvin scale. So you could have the 5000K kind of cooler, more sterile light, or more the warmer amber that's down to the 3000 or 2700. And we'll show you what that looks like when we move along in the video and how to adjust that. Another thing here to pay attention to, on the back, you can see that this lasts 50,000 hours. So that is what I mean before when I said, hey, you know what? You most likely might not ever have to replace this. 50,000 hours is a long time. Let's get started. If you've watched some of the other videos I've done about electrical work, I say the same thing. I'm going to say it here. First thing you want to do is go turn off the power to the room that you're working in at your breaker panel. Okay, so after we turned our power off, we are going to move on to the next step, and that is to actually remove the fixture. If you have one like us, and there are probably millions of these types of fixtures in houses today, they're very popular with builders, or at least were. What you're going to do is remove 3 screws, just like this one. When you're doing them, just be gentle when you're doing it. I suggest not maybe removing them, but simply loosening them, because they hold the actual fixture in place. So the bulb cover right here, so to speak, will be released when all of those screws are loosened enough. So just be careful when you're doing it. Okay, so once you get that cover off, if you're working with something like I have, or even if you aren't, you're probably left with some kind of base. At least in our situation, what we're going to do next is loosen this screw right here just a little bit, because what's going to happen is we're going to twist the base here to the left a little bit and then pull down. Okay, so once you get that screw loosened, this is what I mean. We're going to twist to the left. And then, as you can see, we have the wires inside. So we're just going to go ahead and disconnect those. Let me get you a better view as I remove this insulation. Okay, and here's what your electrical box should look like after taking down your base. As you can see here, we have the blacks, black to black, white to white, and then we have the ground wire. So what you're going to want to do in your situation is just twist these wire nuts to the left counterclockwise, and that'll release the wires that are going to your base of your fixture that you want to remove. You might have to untwist them a little bit after you get the wires off. Untwist the wires, that is. And here is what a clean electrical box should look like. Now, if you're watching this and thinking, oh my gosh, that looks like 2 white wires, kind of. I think this is a problem with builders sometimes when they're painting, right? It looks like these are white, but if you flip it around, just make sure you understand which one's black, which one's white, and then we've got our ground wire as well. Okay, so here is what is in the box of our new LED light that we are going to put up. As you can see here, we've got the instructions, and then we've got kind of the trim, and then the actual light itself. That is it. Okay, so before we start following the directions in the book, there's actually a little bit of pre-work here, because the first step talks about mounting this bracket right here. But guess what? You have to remove it from the back of the light. So there's this little knob on the side. You're just gonna twist that to the left, counterclockwise, and it pulls out. And then you just lift this up. And there's a little latch on the side that you just flip over. And then there's your mounting bracket that now we have ready to roll for step 1. Okay, so here's what step 1 is in the instructions. As you can see, we're gonna use the mounting bracket that we just took off and put that right over our electrical box. Okay, so here is what your mounting bracket should look like when it is installed. As you can see, we've got the 2 screws coming out of the electrical box holding that bracket in place. We are moving along to step 2, and as you can see here, we have a bunch of bullet points within step 2. Let's focus on them one at a time. So the first one talks about hanging the hook of the light onto the mounting bracket, as you could see in the diagram. So what's cool about this is that you're putting the ceiling light or the fixture on there, and you're going to be able to connect the wires without needing another set of hands. And if you've hung ceiling lights or ceiling fans in the past, you always feel like you need another set of hands to hold the fixture in place while you are connecting the wires. So this is a little trick here that they have installed within the manufacturing process that is really nice. So we are going to go ahead and hang our light by the hook on the edge of the mounting bracket, and we'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so there is the hook on our mounting bracket, and there is the place on our light where we are going to hang the light by the mounting bracket. So you simply, bear with me as I try to do this while I'm recording. Hang the light by the hook. And as you can see here, it's going to make connecting these wires to the wires coming out of your electrical box much more convenient. Okay, so moving on to the second bullet here. This is kind of a 2-step bullet. We're going to wrap the middle of that ground wire from the fixture around the screw that's on the mounting bracket, and then we're going to then connect the end of that ground wire to the ground wire that's coming out of your electrical box. So let me translate that for you. Okay, so what that means in reality is we are going to take this ground wire, this copper wire coming out of your fixture, and wrap the middle of it around this screw right here, and then we are going to connect the end of it to the copper wire that's coming out of your ceiling. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so here is what yours should somewhat look like. You can see here that our ground wire from the fixture is wrapped around the screw in the middle of the mounting bracket, and then the end of it is then attached to the copper wire that comes down from the ceiling, and then we put a wire connector on those. And if you're not sure how to do the wire connector and put that on, just line up the ends of your wires, put them into the wire connector, and then twist the wire connector clockwise until you can't twist anymore. I like to put a little electrical tape on the bottom of the wire connector so the wires stay secure when we push them up into the electrical box. Okay, as you can see here in the next few bullets here, we're just going to connect the white wire from the fixture to the white wire from the outlet box, and then black to black. And like I just mentioned, we are going to wrap all those connections with electrical tape and then push them up into the box. So I will give you a shot of what my situation looks like once I finish that process. Okay, so as you can see here, we have all of our wires connected, white to white, black to black, and as we talked about previously, the ground wires, and they are all jammed up into the electrical box up there. What's cool about this light also is that, as you can see here, there's space here. So when we eventually push this fixture up here, there's space for the wires to kind of settle in here. There's nothing worse than putting up a light fixture and you're trying to push it up against the ceiling and then wires impede that. So it's nice that they included a little kind of nesting area, so to speak, for the wires to sit in there, because these will need a place to go when we push the wire, or when we push the light fixture up. Okay, so we're moving on to step 3, and as you can see here, this is when we push the other side of the light fixture up, and then we are going to grab the little screw. Remember when we released the mounting bracket earlier? We're going to grab that so that we can, after we push the other side of the light up, we are going to insert this back into the light fixture, which then attaches it to that mounting bracket. So after that step is complete, this is what your light should look like. As you can see, we have the screw inserted back in. Okay, so step 4, this is where we choose our color temperature. And like we talked about before, there are a few different options here. We can go with that soft light at 3000K, and that's what I'm going to do, but I'm going to show you what the other ones look like. That's the one that's the kind of traditional halogen, kind of ambery look. The opposite of that, at least to me, the opposite is the 5000K, that daylight. That's more that sterile. Some people think it has kind of a bluish hue to it. We are not going to go with that. And then in the middle is 4000. But I'm going to actually turn the power on right now because we've got our light installed, although we haven't completed the trim and everything like that, just so we can show you how this works. Okay, so up on the side of your light, you can see the switch. So as you can see, it's on 3000 right now. We're going to move it to 4000 and then to 5000 so you can see the color change, so to speak. All right, here's 4000. And then 5000. So as you can see, that's kind of that more sterile look with kind of the bluish hues to it. I'm going to move it all the way back to 3000. That's what I like. It's more of that ambery light. And we are moving on to our last step, and that's step 5 here, and that's just putting on our fixture ring. Remember, the trim, so to speak. As you can see here, we just have to line up the arrows. There's an arrow on the ring and then an arrow on your fixture. So here's the arrow on our ring, and we're just going to match that up to the arrow on the fixture and then twist clockwise until you can't anymore, and then we will remove the arrow because guess what? You don't need that anymore. So there's the arrow on the fixture. So we're going to match up this arrow with the one on the trim, push the one on the trim or the ring in, and then twist clockwise till it locks in place. Okay, so here is the finished product. Thanks for watching.